we had also a bit of our funds. We earned through bug bounties, winning CTFs and a bunch of other competitions. But
Now the next step comes is making possible either with VC fund or to bootstrap it. So
if you build the right product, if you build with the right customers, money will follow.
you found the market, but the next step is making awareness. Next step is finding your customers. How did you
Oh,
find
yeah.
that all these companies in LLMs, which are maybe foundational models like OpenAI, how do you reach out to them and tell them that, hey, your LLM has a vulnerability?
So the alum community is really good. So we have this group called IIT Roorkee Entrepreneurs, and that is where you see that the community is so small. We got a 50, 60 entrepreneurs who are just there to angel investing.
So hello everyone, today we have the one and only Aryaman. He's the CEO of Repello AI. He's creating in the world of AI from India, startup in India, which is about cybersecurity. This podcast is going to be about how he is targeting the global audience from India, plus about his technical knowledge in cybersecurity, red teaming, plus how to create a startup in AI in 2024. So hi Aryaman, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey Anuj, thanks for having me here. Hey everyone, I'm Ariman, the CEO and co-founder of Repello AI. And yeah, I've been into offensive security landscape for past half a decade now. I built and sold my first company in second year at IIT Roorkee with my current co-founder Naman, who's been into AI research for past 4 years and who built and scaled a company to 700K users before it got acquired. And I've been into CTFs, bug bounty side of things. So yeah, that's me. And I worked with Azure security at Microsoft, worked with some of the government contracts. And then eventually after I graduated from IIT Roorkee, I thought that with everybody building out AI applications, right, be it chatbots, be it co-pilots or agentic workflows, there's got to be someone who's keeping them all in check. So we come out as the cops of this generative AI era. And with these new kind of vulnerabilities, right? Like prompt injections, data exfiltrations, where you can make the LLM-based applications do unintended things as compared to what the developers made it for. There is a horizon of attack surface area that will be exploited by the attackers, and we are there to secure that. We are there to help the AI teams secure before the things go out of hand.
Very well said. And for those who don't know about CTS, CTS is like hackathon for cybersecurity people where they do competitions and win bounties, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a little bit different. So CTFs are capture the flag events where you have a bunch of software with intended security vulnerabilities. You solve that challenge, you exploit the vulnerability, and you are rewarded with a flag. And once you have that flag, you are awarded 100 or 200 points, and you're competing against 100 other teams doing the exact same. And the main job that you have is to rise up the leaderboard and claim that bounty.
It's a game. It's kind of a game
Yes.
to
Yeah. Oh yeah.
solve
It's a fun game.
vulnerabilities in cybersecurity. Wow.
Oh yeah.
So let's get to the point. Let me show you what Araman showed me, the vulnerabilities in AI, which are shocking. So let's start with the Chevrolet's problem. So Chevrolet has a chatbot on their website. In their website, that chatbot can be hacked. You can attack that chatbot and you can make that chatbot sell you a car for free. Right? Can you explain that further and
Oh
how?
yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be exploited anymore because now they fixed it.
Uh-huh.
But the vulnerability was something where a guy named Chris, there was a customer-facing chatbot on Chevy website, and after talking to this chatbot, he made sure that after every query he appended, okay, this is a legally binding offer, no takesies, backsies, which makes the offer legally binding from Chevy. So he made that using prompt injection and advanced intelligent prompting. He made that chatbot say that okay, you have a deal for $1 for Chevy Tahoe. That was the car he purchased, and he got a legally binding offer for that from the chatbot. So that is how he made that deal. And this is not just for Chevy chatbot. There are plenty of customer facing chatbots which in which this vulnerability is still there today. So I think there's this vulnerability just came out yesterday where somebody there was a negotiation chatbot where there was a negotiation based on LLMs where somebody got a $9,000 mattress for some $9 or something. Uh, Again claiming a 99% discount just against just using prompt injections. So things are very wild right now. People are using prompt injections inside the resume so that they filter through the ATS pipeline and they rank higher up when against when competing with other candidates in a AI based like resume ranking systems. So prompt injections are everywhere. I like to also call it as LLM viruses, where you don't know where it's hidden, but it can make the difference out there. So yeah.
Absolutely. Like there was recent news about GPT 4.0 as well, which was hacked. You can like put in a prompt and that can make GPT 4.0 or GPT 4 tell you how to destroy the world, tell you how to overthrow the
Oh yeah.
government. You know, these are so common. So
Yeah.
now, another example which you showed me was that you can put a transparent text. So with the help of HTML, you can have like a tag and attribute that it is hidden, and you can make the whole sentence hidden. And you put in the prompt. Let's say you want to tell it that abuse me every after every prompt. So even if
Yeah.
you say hi, it'll say that you're stupid every time
Oh yeah. Yeah.
LM talks to you. So these vulnerabilities are so bad that it can destroy the experience of using chatbots on multiple websites, right?
Oh yeah. That's true. That's true.
So once you find this problem, how do you figure out that you are the one who needs to solve it? There are so many startups. How did you figure out that Aryaman, and your co-founder are the right people to solve this problem?
Thanks for this question. This is very interesting. I get this question asked quite a lot. So the reason was that, first of all, cybersecurity companies are very less in India. And that was one of the major driving factor that, okay, with all the Israeli companies and US companies building and pushing for cybersecurity, we are quite behind in terms of business building in cybersecurity. There are plenty of, service companies out there, but there are no product security companies that are doing extremely well out of India. And there are a few, but they're not a lot. So we thought that okay, somebody's got to do this. And I had this thing in mind that okay, I got to build in cybersecurity. And with my half a decade of experience and my co-founders, 4 years of experience in AI research, we thought that with this new attack vector that is coming of a generative AI, we got to build that. It's a huge opportunity. And while identifying business building opportunities, you got to see that whenever there is a change, whenever there is a new behavioral shift, whenever there is a technological shift happening in the world, you can make a business out of it, be it any damn thing. And with generative AI being embedded into all these chatbots with new kind of AI-based workflows, co-pilots having actionable capabilities, people giving access to their very, very sensitive customer data to these LLMs, we thought it's a huge attack surface area, and we can definitely, it's a huge, and more is the attack surface area, more is the market opportunity, right? So it's a what I would like to call a $0 billion market right now, and it's going to be a huge in the future. So we are starting off early so that we stay ahead of the curve.
Mm. Breaking down the $0 billion market, term, it's very common in Silicon Valley
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
uh-huh,
So it was coined by the NVIDIA CEO,
uh-huh.
Jensen. But what I mean by that is currently nobody is talking about it. It's very early. It's a very, very niche field, but it's going to be huge in the next 4 to 5 years. What do we mean by that is, as entrepreneurs, what we have to do is identify those $0 billion market opportunities where you start off by saying that, okay, it's not that big of a market right now, but the growth is insane. With everybody building out AI POCs, they're building some sort of AI-based applications and, proof of concepts. But once they will move into production, they will encounter all these safety and security issues. And they will be a major roadblock for getting into production. And if you have invested billions of dollars in building a POC and it is not going into production, that is a huge business loss, right? And that is where all the AI security companies like Repello AI will come into picture, and we will help you unblock these vulnerabilities and so that you can confidently ship to production. So here we're talking about $1 trillion value unlock, and we plan to capture a small percentage of it, which is again $1 billion market. So that's our thesis here. We'll see in years if it's true or not.
Wow. So you found the market, but the next step is, making awareness. Next step is finding your customers. How did you
Oh
find
yeah.
that, all these companies in LLMs, which are maybe foundational models like OpenAI, how do you reach out to them and tell them that, hey, your LLM has a vulnerability, you can be attacked. Do you red team into every LLM and then reach out to them, or you just tell them that you need this? How do you convey your customers and find them?
Okay, sure. And for a lot of people hearing this red teaming term for the first time, I'd like to clarify that as well. So by red teaming, what I mean by that is red teaming is the act of creating those attack scenarios where an attacker or a threat actor is actually trying to break your AI application and trying to create problems for the company. And once you know about those kind of attack scenarios, which you didn't know previously, then you can make relevant suggestions or relevant mitigations to your application. So that is why AI red teaming is so much important. You need to bring in that external hacker mindset to see what can possibly go wrong. Your internal team won't know that because they have built the application, so they have a bit sort of confirmation bias, right? So that is why external red teaming of AI applications becomes very important. Now, when you say that, how are we making the customers aware? So there is a thing in security that okay, you can never solve it 100%, right? It's always a cat and mouse game, with attackers trying to attack, defenders trying to defend. It's always a game, right? Like Tom and Jerry. But somebody's gotta keep them in check. If the attackers are there, but there is no defenders out there, then things will go wrong. And the company starts focusing on security only after they get attacked or only after they get hacked, right? That's what we have been seeing traditionally. If you know about the Domino's attack, where uh, everybody's address was out there in the like Domino's pizza. I stopped ordering from Domino's after all, by the way. So I mean, it's insane. But the thing is, you gotta show them, you gotta demonstrate them what is the possible attack vulnerabilities. And the good thing about red teaming is that even before we get on a customer call with our client, we have access to their customer-facing chatbots, or we have access to their products, right? You can take a subscription, you can get it easily. Now, because once you get that easily, you can do some sort of soft attacks to demonstrate that vulnerability. That okay, it doesn't cause a meltdown or it doesn't cause a real compromise of the system as well, but it is good enough to demonstrate the end stakeholder, or the head of AI or head of product, that okay, this is something concerning and we really need to work on that. So we do that, and once we show that okay, this is broken, you got to fix that. That is when people start taking these kind of vulnerabilities seriously, because traditionally infosec teams are uh, they are well capable of handling the traditional security side of things. That is, you have a checklist, you can do a standard penetration testing done that covers a bit of vulnerabilities. But with AI being a totally new kind of attack surface area, no traditional security company is well capable of catering to this area or this technology right now. And that is where we come into picture, and we're like, okay, we will be your security partners, and we will help you end to end through securing your AI applications. And as you said, that how do we reach out to OpenAI, etc.? No, we don't reach out to OpenAI, Claude, etc., because inherently the vulnerabilities are there on the application side of things. When people are building on top of models, the applications, when they're giving them a bunch of capabilities like browsing, code interpreter, access to real-time knowledge base, stuff like that, that is when things actually go wrong. So the analogy would be like, okay, we all have AWS virtual machines. We have all, Azure virtual machines. They inherently have some vulnerabilities, and the accountability of fixing that is definitely with Azure. But when you build some applications on top of that, once you have containers running inside the VMs, you are responsible for the security of that. Azure is not responsible for the security of those internal containers running inside your VMs. So that's the simple difference, that once you are building application, that's when you introduce vulnerabilities.
Got it. So it's a layer above the foundational models when you want to like
Yeah.
ship it to customer, add more features on top of it. And just like Mark Zuckerberg says, you just have to get started. No one
Oh
makes the
yeah,
perfect product on day one, you know, and you
I
followed that
strongly believe.
mantra. Yeah, you followed that mantra and you got started. And now the next step comes is making possible either with VC fund or to bootstrap it. So what
Yeah.
strategy did you choose? And in startups like these, big best answer is VC, right? Pre-seed, seed. So
Oh
can
yeah.
you share and walk us through that journey?
If somebody's starting up, you got to decide first that do you want to play the bootstrap route or do you need VC money? Because I think both are right at their own places. If you want to build a sustainable business with a, $4 or $5 million of profit over time, and it slowly grows. You are in for the longer run of 10-15 years. Then you can definitely, go through the bootstrap route. And we had also a bit of our funds we earned through bug bounties, winning CTFs and a bunch of other competitions. But we were very clear that because there were a lot of competitors who were raising tens of billions of dollars and funding, and who will be hiring a great team, who will be having a great marketing strategy to actually go out and have that mind share achieve in this specific space. So we decided to go through the VC route, because when you're selling to enterprises, when you're selling to mid market companies, they see a lot of credibility. They see that, have you been like, your due diligence, has it been done by somebody else in the past? And if it is yes, then it adds a sense of credibility, right? And we wanted that credibility. So that was very important. So we went on to raise a seed round, a couple of millions dollars. And then we thought that, okay, now we were confident that we could hire a good AI research team, we could build a good security team, and now we are well positioned to tackle this AI red teaming market. You don't have to worry about funds, and you can spend quite a bit. It gives you a mind space that, okay, now I have a bit of funds, I can spend it. I can use those funds to grow to $1 billion ARR, and then $5 million ARR, and then you scale out your growth, right? You reinvest the money that you get as revenue back. But the initial rocket fuel is what I call the VC funding. Once you get that, then it's your job to figure out how do you make a good business out of it. Because if you just spend millions of dollars and burn it through and without getting to revenue, I feel that's a good, especially in B2B SaaS, that's not a great way to go. If you're building in social media network effects, consumer space, then it's a different ballgame altogether. But here we're talking about B2B SaaS. Revenues, all you got.
Absolutely. And this is, I think, one of the biggest reason you got a Fortune 500 customer, right? Routers
Oh
and
yeah.
like, and I think, do you think getting a Fortune 500 getting a Fortune 500 customer was mainly due to this incubator community you got, or it was just you?
Oh, I mean, it was a bunch of things. And when we are talking about a Fortune 500 company, there are not one person involved, right? There are a bunch of stakeholders involved who have their own incentives, and you got to align those incentives. That's the most important. You got to align those incentives in order to make sure everybody has got some incentives. I'll give you a very simple example. So there is this one attack called denial of wallet in AI security, through which the bills of your OpenAI can increase by a lot. So currently, in month one, you're having just a few $1,000s. In next month, you're having a $1 million in OpenAI bills. Why? If that is because of a AI security problem, and which is actually there, then that becomes a problem for the CFO. So now the CFO has incentive. If the head of AI is problematic, that, okay, my product's integrity will be compromised, then that's a problem for them. For the security teams, it's much bigger that, okay, we went, we missed a vulnerability that could be found by us, but we couldn't. So, that is another sort of vulnerability. So there are various things that can possibly go wrong, and you got to align all those incentives in order to make a sale. And honestly, it's not a very what do you call a easy game. You got to take 5 to 6 months very easily in order to make that sale happen. You got to demonstrate your capabilities. You got to do something for free and help them nurture through in order to make that sale. Because you're not the only one being that, right? There are 10 other competing companies who are there and who are going behind that same customer. And it's a competitive thing. It's not a very simple thing. The one thing that we differentiate ourselves is in customer support, and the second thing is the offensive security mindset. That is, we bring in that external hacker mindset that is missing in a lot of these other companies who are just running automated checks and giving a simple report that can give you a sense of, okay, how vulnerable is my product in a very overall sense, but not in depth. We go very, very deep in terms of that. We can tell you that how do you combine prompt injections with traditional security methodologies like SQL injections or server-side request forgery, that is making internal server API calls. This is when real high security threats are created. And in my experience of 5 years, I've seen that you can chain two low impact bugs to create one high severity bug. So chaining bugs is the way to go. And no other company out there is doing that, focusing on attack chains. And that is what we are doing.
Wow, that's a
So that
lot
is
to
what,
take in.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was a lot to take in, but breaking it down, you know, the USP for your case was, unique selling point was that you had great customer support plus great product. Now, before talking
Yeah.
about the challenges you solved, let's talk about how did you make a great product. You talked about chaining bunch of queries, bunch of red teaming effort. Can you explain that? How did you make that product?
Okay, sure. So the usual way you go about attacking any AI application or any application for that purpose, first you should know what is the capability of that application. You need to have some context around that, right? What is that application capable of? What is the underlying model it's running? Is it running GPT-5, sorry, GPT-4? Is it running a GPT 3.5 turbo? Is it running some sort of Llama 2 models? You got to fingerprint that. Once you do that, then you have some understanding that, okay, what is this application running on? Then you got to figure out what is this application capable of doing. For example, uh, like for example, it has got browsing capabilities. So you can have a bunch of capabilities, right? So what we do is our product automatically simulates these conversations with the target application in order to figure out the capabilities. Once it does that, it makes a inventory of these AI capabilities, right? Or we call it the AI assets. Now, once we have the right capabilities in place and the right entry points, we make a threat model of it. What I mean by threat model is that we make sure that, okay, what are the entry points through which an attacker can get in and destroy or create those adversarial scenarios. And let's say a very simple analogy, right? So while you're building a house, you got to secure your doors. If your doors are not secured, if your doors are very easily unlocked, you are 100% sure that you got to be attacked. And there is a thing in security that if something is vulnerable, it will be attacked. It's not like it can be attacked. It will be attacked 100%, right? That's the thing. Now, once you are aware, the product is aware about the AI capabilities that is there in your product, then it starts to chain things. That is, okay, let's say you have C1, C2, C3, C4. Then, okay, if you make different permutation and combinations to chain different capabilities in order to create that high severity vulnerability? What if you create C1 with C2? I gave you the example of invisible prompt injection, right? That is, we chain prompt injection with simple traditional security vulnerability, that is Unicode injection, in order to create that invisible prompt injection.
Wow, that's a
Maybe I can explain that in a much simpler way because it's getting a little, what do you call, technically challenging for my bunch of folks because it's very new. It's a very, very new thing that, not a lot of people have heard about it apart from the people who are there in the AI security community, right? So that's there. Uh, yeah, I mean, sorry, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, this is even for any software engineer or machine learning engineer, it could be, really challenging at first to understand who are entering cybersecurity world so they can get ready. But yeah, this is a very incredible solution. It's like finding out, like, if someone can attack through a helicopter on top of your head, front door, back door, left door, you need to figure out that, oh, what if like you have a gun at the front door, but you should have a gunman on the rooftop as well. So, you can be secure on all sides, and you have those through combinations as well. And that is something which makes this job more interesting, right? So now you have made a very good product, chaining through a bunch of vulnerable ways to prove the customer that, yeah, you have higher chances of securing the product, but not 100%. You are
Yeah,
being honest about it. Obviously,
yeah,
you cannot be
for sure.
100% secure. Now, you've made that. Now, there are still many ways you can be vulnerable. One of the ways you mentioned is server side request forging. So, can you explain what what is your response to the customers who can face this vulnerability, and what is it?
So usually, so there are different scopes defined, right? When you are actually helping a customer discover any sort of these vulnerabilities. When we're talking about web security vulnerabilities, SSRF, or you as called it, server-side request forgery, is one top vulnerability that can eventually be escalated into remote code execution, which is terrible for the customer. And it's the highest security vulnerability that can possibly go wrong. And SSRF is the first step to it. Now, how can that be caused by prompt injections is the natural next question, right?
Wait,
If
wait,
your
let's
AI,
explain that. Let's explain that. So, as an example,
yeah,
one example could be, let's say you're talking
yeah,
to a website. Website is, let's say, encrypting your password. That's an internal server request only. And if this request is exposed to the client side, and the client can also decrypt a password, then it's very dangerous. So that's a rough example of SSRM. Now, yeah, I'll let you explain how you prevent that.
Oh, yeah. So one example would be, let's say, there is a internal, let's say, admin API endpoint, which
Mm.
can only be accessed by the local host or the server, right? But if, and that is sensitive endpoint, and that is why it cannot be accessed by the external users, right? By design. But if you can figure out a way from any of the APIs that is exposed to the customer, and you can use that API to make internal server API calls in turn of you, right? So you are making the request, you are making your making the request in such a manner, you are using the payloads such that eventually the request is being made internally to that server API call, and you're getting the response back. So this is what I call the SSRF, or the server side request forgery attack. And a lot of companies are vulnerable to this. And if you don't solve that in time, then it can lead to remote code execution as well, when escalated. So in security, it's a lot about escalation. Once you figure out a low hanging fruit and a bunch of low hanging fruits, it's all about how can you chain those low hanging fruits to escalate the vulnerability, to escalate your privileges, and move up the hierarchy chain. The same cases with AI security as well. It's not any different. Once you figure out the vulnerabilities in terms of, let's say, there are if there is something called system prompts. System prompts are very proprietary, and in a way that they dictate how the LLM based application should function, the capabilities of it, and how it should respond to changes like behavior, etc. It dictates all of it. Now, if an attacker is able to leak all these system prompts, then that is the first step to exploiting in any AI application out there. So we made an open source tool as well called Whistleblower, inspired by Edward Snowden. And that is an offensive security tool for all the AI engineers to make sure that their AI application is safe and secure against system prompt leakage. What you can do is that you can give it the API access to that your chatbot or copilot, whatever it is, and our tool would figure out that if it's vulnerable to system prompt leak or not. And if it is, then you got to fix it, because system, you can't afford to lose your system prompts. It's like the AI application blueprint. You can't afford to lose your blueprints to any of your competitors who could possibly recreate that application with such a competitive market right now.
Yeah. What a name. I love the name, of course. Now,
Yeah,
in this
thanks.
case, for whistleblowing the internal services, there could be multiple. Do you also chain those multiple services as well? Or you just red team into every single internal service?
So we have this differentiated offering where we just get black box access or non-intrusive access to any customer environment. So what they give us is a staging environment or pre-production environment, the pre-production deployment of their AI application, and that is the same level of access as an attacker would have. So, and because we are doing red teaming, you gotta be black box. You don't get any access to internal code base or internal models or stuff like that. But what we have managed to do is develop a ever evolving threat intelligence repository or a threat library. And what we like to call is, let's say we are working with 4 to 5 different customers, and we managed to find a set of new vulnerabilities, right? Now, once you find those vulnerabilities, you make a module out of it and put it into the threat library, so that whenever you're attacking a new customer or whenever you're red teaming a new customer, then you don't have to do all of those steps in again and again. So the time really reduces. If you're in initial first few red teaming efforts or red teaming contracts, you are taking like 3 4 days or 4 to 5 days. For the n plus 1th contract, you will take a few mere hours. So that is the time difference. That is the difference it brings along. And we are, because we are a product company, we have to make sure that our product is improving as well. Otherwise, if it's not catering up to the offensive security methodologies, we will be behind the market, right? So we can't afford to do that. So that is why we have this threat intelligence repository, and that is something proprietary that is built by us, and it's growing every day.
Mm. So the threat intelligence repository basically like it what it does, can you explain? Like it you shared the black box techniques you use, which is very common in security, but
Yeah.
this library you developed is unique. So can you explain
Oh,
how
yeah.
it works?
Sure. So to simplify in layman words, what I'd like to say is that threat intelligence repository is what you can call a database or knowledge base of vulnerable workflows against a proper model. Let's say there is GPT-4 model in a healthcare category. So we know that how can it possibly go wrong? We have dedicated data set of it. And once you use that data set, you have that adversarial prompt data set, then you can use it for, using any other healthcare AI company who is using some sort of AI applications, because you have the relevant context now and you have a set of vulnerabilities. For example, like indirect prompt injection being one of it, that okay, how can you poison the knowledge base, or how you can poison the whole workflow, uh, sabotage the workflow using a external URL, and that URL has got some sort of prompt injections. So let's say whenever you are asking it to summarize this URL, it will go to the URL, it will fetch the HTML content out of it, but the HTML would have a lot of injected prompts that could sabotage the user workflow in the end application. So this is indirect prompt injections. Once you figure all of these kind of vulnerabilities, then the next customer that you're working with, it can be automated in a complete manner. You don't have to sit behind and manually do all of that. The product can do all of it on its own. That's the power that we're bringing in. So the time, and you can run all of these attacks in parallel. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to sit behind that. Okay, now I'm doing system prompt leak. Next, once that is done, now I'm doing indirect prompt injections. On the third, now I'm doing denial of wallet. No, you can run all of these things in parallel. So that's the beauty of the threat intelligence repository. Whenever there is a new production deployment that you're going to be, releasing, that you can get it continuously tested through our workflows and without any human involvement. So that's the best part.
Incredible. It's a wonderful solution. I really admire it. It has a lot of automation going on, and your solution is basically having a RAG data set of known ways of an LLM. Let's say GPT-3, GPT-4 has some vulnerability. We know about it. We connect through a RAG and put it in a database, which you call your threat intelligence database, and make it possible. Now, can you share why cannot any other startup do the same and compete with you? Why you are
Sure.
irreplaceable?
The moat or the competitive advantage we have is the threat intelligence repository, जो हमारा threat library है. That is very very unique in the terms that the more red teaming we do, even for a simple chatbot in a particular industry, let's say healthcare or legal or media telecom, then we can use that same vulnerabilities to replicate into other customers in a very very in mere minutes. So that is something, the time to value is very very low. That is, you integrate a product and right then and there you will be knowing that okay, I'm vulnerable to these kind of applications. We don't take like 3 weeks 4 weeks of your time to see that okay, give us the access and we'll take 3 4 weeks and we'll come back with some vulnerabilities. We don't do that. You have integrate with Repello and you get the immediate in few minutes and few hours, you know that okay, the kind of vulnerabilities, you get the security risk posture of your AI applications. So that is one of the most interesting parts.
Wow. So automation is not just in creating the product, it's also about automating the idea of gaining more customers. Very well thought out.
GTM is much more important than the product itself sometimes. When you're
GTM?
working in a GTM, that
What
is the go to market strategy.
go to market strategy? Oh, I see. GTM. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
go-to-market strategy is very important. It's crucial. How you get the customers, what is the scalable way, what is the inbound funnel, what is the outbound funnel, it's very important.
Very well said. Now, we got done with the technical part. Now, let's get into how you learned all of this and, what inspired you to create your own company, your journey.
Oh, sure. So me and my co-founder, we sold our first company in second year at IIT Roorkee. That was during the COVID times, and that was our first entrepreneurship stint. That was we built a very simple Chrome extension. But after that, we did some micro SaaS kind of businesses. We tried some mini business things like digital business cards, trying to build something in sales intelligence here and there. But soon enough, we realized that this term called founder market fit is very very important. I'd like to talk a bit about that. Founder market fit, what I mean by that is you have a set of experiences, you have some sort of problems, and you have some sort of superpowers that people like to call your credibility. So I have credibility in cybersecurity. My co-founder has credibility in AI research. So this founder market fit was really important for us to decide that okay, this is the space that we are gonna build this company in, where people can trust our as a company you have to do a lot of things. You gotta hire the best folks. You gotta sell to the right customers. You gotta bring in the right set of advisors and backers, investors for you to work towards. And how do you make sure they trust you? For them to trust you, you gotta either have traction or you need to have some sort of background in the space that you're building, right? So, and this was always my thing that if you build a product once, you invest in that, then you can sell it infinite number of times, or as number of times depending on the market size that you have. And we were selling to AI teams and security teams. So we were very clear that this is going to be a huge market, with every company turning into an AI company right now. Every manager is out there, asking their team that what is our AI strategy. So every company is trying to build some sort of do something with generative AI right now. So we got a huge market at our hand, and there is a window of opportunity, and we need to move very very fast in terms of the product, in terms of the team building, and then definitely in terms of the customers as well. So we thought that this is very very exciting. And we are just 22, right? I mean, like, we are very young. We graduated last year, so it is very very important for us to just start early on. And the earlier you start on, the more risk profile you have. And I got a bunch of risk appetite for sure. So I mean, I like to swing for the fences, and taking risks is definitely what gives me adrenaline rush. So that's the reason, yeah.
Wow. Now, being a founder, let's talk about your struggles. So, can you share like what are some things you do that you don't enjoy but you have to do?
Oh man, a lot of this back office work, like as being from the technical side, you got to do all of those, like maintaining investor relationships, raising invoices to the customers, doing a lot of legal and accounting work and stuff like that. So that is something that initially you don't enjoy, and okay, I don't enjoy it now as well. But eventually you figure out the right firms or right partners to outsource that. So that you can outsource that, and outsource the headache is what I like to call it. But as a founder, you got to do that. You got to be comfortable with finances. You got to be comfortable with, reaching out to customers. You got to be comfortable with becoming the sales person for the customer. You got to sell to your hires. You got to sell to your founders. Sorry, I mean the co-founders. You got to sell to your customers. So as a CEO, you have to sell to everybody in order to work with you and make the things work. So this is something that I was initially little, I was not so interested in doing that. But with Repello running for past 1 year now, I have improved in those specific areas. But this happens, right? You improve that over time. Once you are so much into it, you tend to improve it. We have this, what you call, adapt and improve.
Learning these technologies, like how did you make it possible? Like, do you think IIT Roorkee like gave you the environment to learn all of this, or it was your own interest, or it was your network? So tell us which network you surrounded yourself with. Was it international network, local network that helped you learn really fast into the world of
Sure.
cybersecurity?
I think it was a combination of IIT Roorkee network and international network. IIT Roorkee was definitely one of the best things that ever happened to me, because you see, I got my co-founder there, and otherwise we wouldn't have ever met, right? The thing is, the kind of people you surround yourself is actually what decides what will you do for the next couple of years of your life, right? Um I was a part of this club called SDS Labs and InfoSec IITR. SDS Labs is a club where we just make projects for fun, make it open source. And I worked in this project called Gasper, that is like an open source Heroku alternative, which got 400 stars on GitHub, and now more, I guess. And with InfoSec IITR, we used to play a lot of these CTFs, right? Capture the flag events, and do play and participate in a lot of international competitions where we had international exposure. By when we get this internal exposure, you reach out to and you make connections with a lot of security teams, security engineers, head of security, and a bunch of folks. So that way our network grew really well. And after you spend 5 years in a particular sector, people know you. People know that okay, you're building in security, and whenever you're building something, they are the first ones. They are the evangelists who are like, okay, what are you building? Let me try. Let me take it out for a spin. and that really helps. So these were some of the things that actually helped me. But given that IIT Roorkee alumni, so if you know about like Razorpay, FamPay, InMobi, and a bunch of other good companies that came out of IIT Roorkee, so the alum community is really good. So we have this group called IIT Roorkee Entrepreneurs, and that is where you see that the community is so small. We got a 50, 60 entrepreneurs who are just there to angel investing you. If you're not getting funds, they're ready to put in funds because you're from IT Roorkee and they have been through the same part of journey, to the part of college journey, and they want to become part of your journey. So that's there. Access to funds, access to the global ID Roorkee network. All of this adds up in order to like the position where I'm today right now. So it all adds up.
But there is always some ego issue. You have a co-founder, right? So, but you
Oh
are
yeah.
the CEO. How do you solve the ego issues with between your co-founders? Because currently the startups which start at the age of 21, 22, and or maybe 18, I have seen so many in the valley. When the startup owners, they grew, let's say 26, 27, and startups grew to multi-billion dollar startups, they they have some ego issues. They want to have money, fame, and power, and sometimes they like disown their co-founder. So how do you make sure when you grow you will respect everyone and not let that happen?
Sure. I think becoming a multi-billion dollar company is a great problem to have, and I definitely like to have that. First is that, and second, I think you got to stay humble. You got to stay very, very humble to your co-founder. You got to be honest. You got to talk about those you need to have those uncomfortable conversations, because once you have those uncomfortable conversations, you start growing out of it. You have to make sure, even if you have those uncomfortable conversations, you have a bit of tussle here and there, you come out of the room in a very respectable manner. That is very, very important. If you don't do that, then that becomes a problem, and it all stacks up. So because me and my co-founder, we met in first year at IIT Roorkee, we are friends from 5 years, so that's not a major problem, fortunately. But I've seen a lot of cases where there is a co-founder conflict, and that is one of the biggest reason why companies shut down. So YC had this stack, right? 83% of the companies shut down because of co-founder conflict. So that's there. It always happens, but you have to make sure you're very, very transparent with them. In our case, it was very simple that Naman, my co-founder, had all the chops of technical understanding of AI research. He could build a technical team around him. He could lead a team, and I could talk security. I could talk to the relevant audience that we are selling to. So it became a very natural, distribution that okay, he's gonna build, I'm gonna sell. So it was very simple. It was not something complicated that we had to decide. As I said, it's a $0 billion market, right? We don't know. But what I can tell you is that the spend on AI infra is going to be in trillions of dollars, with OpenAI already grossing a multi-billion dollar revenue. So it's going to be in trillions of dollars. And the average security spend is 10 to 15% of the budget of AI infra. So naturally, we're looking at a 40 to $60 billion market here.
Incredible. And how actively you look into your competitor, because security space is really strong. The big tech
Oh, yeah.
companies, like for example, Nvidia is buying security companies as well. Like, people are really strong about it. So,
Oh, yeah.
how do you stay competitive with your competitors?
I think what I personally think is when we started off in our previous company, as well as first initial months of our company building, we used to focus a lot of on competitors. That okay, what are the competitors doing? How is their landing page changing? And getting into the Slack and trying to get a reverse demo, trying to see what is the product, etc. But I realized that if you focus a lot on them, that it's a distraction. It's a plain distraction. What you need to figure out is that there is a plethora of market out there. There are a bunch of AI teams that have not been reached out to yet, and you have to reach out first. You have to focus on them. If you focus on customers, the right customer insights, and building the right product and with the right design partners, that's all you're gonna take. If you focus on competitors, you're just gonna focus on just okay, what are they doing, let me copy that, what are they doing, let me copy that. You will never stay ahead of them. If the way to win in this market is just to focus on customer insights. That's all. And obviously you got to be doing the right things. If you don't have to be like, okay, customer is like the competitor is offering tens of features and is actually good, and you're not that good. So you can't just say that, okay, okay, I'm not going to focus on that. And if customer is asking for something, okay, you got to do that. If 10, and also you have to be very mindful of this thing, that you don't have to build different things for different customers. You have to build something that resonates the same product across a band of customers. Otherwise you will become a dev shop where you're building product one for this company, product two for different company, and then you'll never scale. So scalability is one of the most important factors when you're building this company in cybersecurity.
Mhm. The biggest challenges, like, about pivoting back to back and having a strong vision. So, what is your vision for the next 2 to 3 years? 5 years is
Oh
a
yeah,
big
we
thing
have
to ask, so just 2 years.
that our vision is to become the end-to-end AI security platform where any AI team can use our product and quickly get an understanding of the security exposure or the risk exposure that they have as an AI application and quickly mitigate that. So that is the vision, and I like to call it very often that we are the cops of generative AI era, and we will make sure that your AI application is safe and secure before you release it into the wild. We are the people who will detect and neutralize those vulnerabilities that are targeted at your AI systems, and we own that. So that is the vision for the next couple of years, and we'll see how we get there. But I'm sure we'll get there.
Okay, now one tough question. So, let's say you tomorrow want to
Oh, yeah.
be a customer for Figma, because you have a lot of customers. What will be your process? What will be the process of you convincing Figma and other big tech companies to be your customer? What do they already have versus what you can provide to them?
Sure. In this case, the credibility really matters when you're selling to such bigger enterprises. They want to see who have you worked before, what are the logos that you have, what are some of the different technologies that you have that is not there with them out there. Do you have something proprietary, or do you have something that can be replicated by some open source technologies, or something that can be built in house? So there are a bunch of things that goes in. But once you identify that it's a valid problem for the target company, and when you're selling to Figma, you're not actually selling to Figma, you're selling to a head of AI or head of security inside Figma, right? So you're selling to a team essentially. So you have to make sure what are the priorities, what are the top problems that they're currently struggling with in AI risk landscape. Once you get a deep understanding of that, once you understand the psychology of your customer, then it becomes very easy to actually mold your pitch in a way and channel it accordingly to make the right sale happen. So that's very important, and the best way to sell is not to sell. That's very often what I say. You got to help through them, you got to help them and nurture them throughout the journey, and as you have to secure it with them, you have to secure their AI application, you got to educate them, you got to train their developers, you have to do a bunch of things when you're doing enterprise sales. So you have to it's very consultative, you have to do a consultative selling in order to make that sale happen. In which where the check size is low. I mean, when the check size is like what do you call, $500 or $1,000, few $1,000, then you don't have to do a lot of these things. Then you enter into a product-led growth motion. But we are not into product-led growth right now. We are selling to enterprises in mid market, and our only job is to make sure they are very happy with it, and the team loves it. Loves the experience of working with us, and that goes a long way, because the problem of churn is quite high in SaaS industry, right? That you get a customer, but the next year they don't sign up because the customer support is not good. You didn't talk to them the whole year, and the next year you're coming that, okay, renew my service. No, that won't happen. You got to stay with them throughout the year, and yeah, that is what we differentiate ourselves in. These are very small things that adds up.
Mhm. Now, what advice you would give to any Indian or any entrepreneur who wants to create a startup in AI in 2024?
Sure. First example is first advice is just start with anything. If you start off and you survive with a co-founder, then that is the first step to actually build something, because you have to do a lot of mind mapping, you have to do a lot of talking to customers, you have to figure out that what is the right space for you. Always go market first rather than solution first. You have to figure out, okay, this is the market, this is gonna be huge, this is my hypothesis, And if this turns out to be true, it's $1 billion opportunity, or it's $1 million opportunity, depending on about the bootstrap route or VCs. VCs generally want to invest in $1 billion markets rather than $1 million markets, because they won't get a good returns out of it, and that's very much okay. Now, the second advice would be, have a good relationship with your co-founder in a way that you need to figure out that you have the right things that you guys are working on. You should not be working on the same things altogether. Somebody needs to build and somebody needs to sell. This is the right proportion that I have seen, especially if you are planning to build a AI B2B SaaS company, and that has been working out pretty well in our case as well. Have some sort of early design partners. This is very important. Figure out your customer profile, figure out what is your ICP, that ideal customer profile. Once you have an understanding of that, talk to them. Talk to them and figure out what are the right problems. Talk to 10 companies across the verticals that you're targeting to, and have very very deep conversations. I recommend this book called, let me see. So there's a book called Mom Test, where it tells you about how do you have those user conversations, how do you have those customer discovery conversations. Now, once you do that for a bunch of companies, you will know the right priorities, you will know the right problems to go after. And that is usually the way to go. You should not definitely don't start out by building out a product. That is the worst thing to do. The best time to sell is when you don't have a product. You build out some content material, or you build out some Figma designs that you can possibly show to your customer that okay, this is what it's gonna offer. Once you do that, you have the right MVP in place, then you can go about, okay, maybe fundraising, or you can go maybe giving out to your customers. And the best businesses are where your customers are funding it, right? That's the best kind of businesses. So once you have that early traction, then you will go about the fundraising, etc. Then things will add up, then things will fall in the right place. Don't worry about that. If you build the right product, if you build with the right customers, money will follow.
There's a popular saying by Elon Musk and in the startup world in Silicon Valley that if you think your employees and people you've hired they cannot do it perfectly, just do it yourself. Just like he is
Oh, yeah.
now building his own data centers for creating the next AI x AI. Do you think this advice is viable for young entrepreneurs who are starting?
So the one thing that young entrepreneurs have an advantage over any other, you know, what gray-haired entrepreneur or serial entrepreneur is that you know the right people to build it is what serial entrepreneurs have the advantage. As young entrepreneurs, you can learn any damn thing. You have the flexibility, you have the mind muscle to learn anything. I didn't know anything about sales. I didn't know a lot of things that I currently know while just doing it, while just learning it, making some mistakes, repeating it, failing at it, and then again improving it. That's a simple cycle that you got to follow. Young entrepreneurs can do that. I'm not saying gray-haired entrepreneurs can't do it, but young entrepreneurs can do it much better. The advice of Elon Musk is very much true, and I think I really admire Elon Musk in a way that he is very young in the mindset itself. So if he feels like okay, it needs to be done, he does it. He doesn't think about okay, what will be the pros and cons. Let's do a SWOT analysis. Let's figure out that okay, what are the pros, what are the cons. He does not focus on a lot of things. He's like okay, I need it to be done. Let me do it if I can do it. And that is the usual way to go unless you scale. So because when you are scaling to a series B kind of company, or when you have 50 odd employees, then you can't do everything on your own. You need to learn the art of delegation. That's very much important, because otherwise you will be bogged with a lot of bandwidth, and you will have issues with doing things that can be outsourced, that can be done by somebody else in a much better way. As I talked about the legal and accounting side of things, right? I can as well as do it. I can learn, I can see a YouTube video that how can do it. I can read some blogs on it, and then I can do it. But is it worth my time? Maybe not. Is it worth investing learning? Okay, yeah, sure. I should have an idea that okay, how to do that. But I should not be like, okay, I'll do it. I'll spend 2 hours just doing it in my day. In this 2 hours, maybe I can do something else. I can talk to a lot more my advisors, I can talk to my mentors, I can learn something new in that time. So time is very much crucial. That's important to, the company when you scale. But in early stages, yeah, you got to do everything, man. Everybody does everything. All while we are hiring for our founding engineers, what we like to say is that everybody's got to wear multiple hats in startups. If you even if you are coming as a security engineer, there is no guarantee that you won't be working on the AI side of things, or you won't be working on a customer conversation and stuff like that. So everybody's got to be doing everything. So that's the thing in early stage startup, and it's pretty exciting. I'm loving it.
Awesome. And can you share the struggles of being a founder and entrepreneur as well? Last question.
Struggles. Yeah, so context switching is one of the most important struggles that as a founder you have to deal with. Someday you're dealing with your hires, making sure you retain them, making sure they are not poached by competitors. On the next hour, you are dealing with a legal lawyer and handing that, okay, this is the contract, that these are the clauses that you need to take out for making sure this deal happens. So context switching is one of the major problems that as founders we have to face, because as you might already know that context switching is the most productivity killer, right? So you have to spread out your day and manage it in such a way that you get all things done, but you get all things done well at the same time. You can't compromise on quality of it. So these are some of the things that you initially struggle with, but yeah, you got to learn, you got to improve. That's what I'm doing as well.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, I think, the last words would be for any young entrepreneur who is thinking about building any company in AI, is first to just to start, because there is a lot of mind block where, okay, what if something goes wrong? What if something, does not work out, etc. The thing is, if something does not work out as well, you have a ton of experience to actually work and take as a part of your knowledge into the next company that you're working with, either as founder's office or as a early founding engineer. So that really helps. As young people, we should not work in MNCs, etc. We need to have that adrenaline rush. We need to have that thrill of highs and ups. Sorry, ups and downs of working in a startup. So yeah, that's my message.
Yeah, highs and ups is obviously true. Kidding. Awesome. Uh, awesome. Thank you so much, Aryaman. It was so nice talking to you. Learned a lot. I hope this video helps out the next entrepreneurs coming from India to build the next thing in AI. Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure. I will be in touch. Thank you again.